Booktube, it's Kim at Middle of the Bookmarch, and this is my Bookish week for Sunday, February 4th. My lighting, I'm filming earlier than I normally do, so my lighting is off. It's like pure daylight right now. What time is it? Like 10:45 on Saturday morning I'm filming this. So I don't know if I like it. I'll try it out. We'll see how it goes. Like this half of my face is dark, this half is, that's where the window is. That's where another window is. You don't need to know. You just don't need to know. It bothers me. Hopefully it doesn't bother you. Let's see. I finished 2 books last week and I've got 3 on the go, and I wanted to tell you about a special read-along coming up. So let me tell you about the books I finished. I actually listened to Jane Eyre on audiobook, my second reading of Jane Eyre. And this was a production narrated by Thandie Newton, who is a wonderful actress. This audio was spectacular. She was amazing as a narrator. She did all of the voices, all of the inflections. It didn't sound like she was reading a book to me. It sounded like I was listening to a dramatic presentation. And she brought Jane Eyre to life, which is really interesting because Jane Eyre is a very small, very young woman who was an orphan, who was sent off to a really awful, bleak boarding school by her aunt, who neglected her, rejected her. And at the age of 18, she left there after being a teacher, went to be a governess immediately into Mr. Rochester's estate, Thornfield. And if you've not read Jane Eyre, I don't want to tell you any more, but the novel by Charlotte Bronte. I have to say, I am in love with the Bronte sisters. The one Bronte I have to read is Anne. And what is Tenant of Wildfell Hall her book? I don't remember. I'll have to check it out. But I really love the Brontes, Emily, Charlotte, and Anne. But Jane Bronte on audio was Jane Eyre on audio, narrated by Thandie Newton, was just amazing. Beautifully done. She had me believe all of the characters. She had me believe everything. She did male voices, children's voices. And I was enthralled with listening to her. Now, I don't love Jane Eyre, the book. I definitely have problems with Mr. Rochester. And Jane Eyre is considered kind of a coming-of-age story, maybe, and somewhat of a love story. No, I have no investment in that part of it. Mr. Rochester is more than problematic. He is deeply manipulative and just temperamental and dysfunctional. And Jane herself is a very strong young female character. But at the end of the day, it becomes a happily ever after. And I think that's my biggest issue with the book. It's a 4-star novel for me. I love the writing. I love the characterization. I love what Bronte does with her characters and how she tells a story. The technique of it is wonderful. I just don't love the content so much. But I do highly recommend the audio. If you are a fan of Jane Eyre, I do recommend this particular audio, narrated by Thandie Newton. Now, the other book I finished is in physical form. This is Solar Storms by Linda Hogan. And Linda Hogan is a Chickasaw poet, essayist, and novelist. She is or may have been, and I don't know what her time frame is. I'll check into that. But she was a professor at University of Colorado and a multi-prize winning poet and novelist. And this book was just beautiful. It was so beautiful. You would love this if you love nature writing. If you love novels that talk about nature and the wild world and flora and fauna, there's just some beautiful description in here, and I can see how dark I am. I think I might continue with the video. And just note to self, I won't film it this time of day again. I won't have a chance to film any other time during the day. So, what is this story about? This is a story of a teenage girl named Angel. She was born into this village of indigenous people on the border of Minnesota and Canada. And she was sent away very early in life because of parental trauma that happened to her. And she grew up in foster care until she was 17, when she left and decided to come back to her village of origin to try to find answers and try to find the story of her mother and the story of her childhood and what happened and why she was sent away, why she wasn't raised by her mother. And she comes to her village of origin and she basically finds a found family. She finds the people that surrounded her when she was born and as she became a small child. And they witnessed her life. They witnessed her birth. They witnessed what happened to her. And they knew her mother. And so she's just looking for answers. She wants to find a place where she belongs. The story becomes so much bigger than that. But it is a very strong foundation throughout the entire novel. What makes this so beautiful is Hogan's writing, but also the fables and the folklore of this particular community of people, their beliefs, their spiritual beliefs, the way they treat each other, the way they take care of each other in their village, the things that they know about each other and accept, and the faults that they accept in each other, the love that they show towards Angel and what she went through, but also what she's dealing with in the present time of the book. It is just so beautifully written, and Hogan interweaves the stories of this indigenous village and the stories that they've passed down from generation to generation, and their spiritual beliefs and their natural beliefs. And it is just so beautiful. She writes about different animals and plants and water and the environment. And I don't know, it took me by surprise, and it took my breath away because I didn't know what to expect. This is the first thing from Linda Hogan that I've ever read. And there was kind of a point in the middle, like, where is this going? I kept asking myself, where's the story going? Where are these people going? Where is Angel going? What is she going to find out? I don't know, but I finished the book, and I just had to sit with it for a little while, and I realized how wonderful I thought it was, and how much it affected me emotionally. And that's what gets a 5-star rating from me. So, so those are the 2 I finished last week. I have 3 books on the go. So I'm still reading George Eliot, a biography by Gordon Haight, and still enjoying this. This might take me a little bit longer. There's a lot of information on George Eliot and a lot of social interaction. And so there's a lot of material here. It doesn't look very long, but it kind of is. Now, my In Real Life book group and I are reading The Grapes of Wrath. It's a reread for me. I haven't read this since high school, but all I remember about it is I absolutely loved it. And when I have a required reading in high school, if I love it, then it's special. So we just started reading it, and I've read chapter 3, and I've already realized I still think it's special. So we're going to be reading The Grapes of Wrath in February. And I'm also doing a buddy read of The Fellowship of the Ring, the first installment in the Lord of the Rings trilogy. I'm reading this with Heidi and Doris, I think. And we're going to, we're doing a loose buddy read. We're going to try to check in. But I am reading this as a combination in print and listening to the audiobook, narrated by Andy Serkis, who played Gollum in the movies. And he blows me away. This audiobook is blowing me away. And the only reason I can listen to fiction is because I've already read The Lord of the Rings and I already know the stories. But Andy Serkis's narration is just, I have no words. It's sublime. It's unreal. It's unprecedented. If you've listened to it, you know. If you want to listen to an audio of the Lord of the Rings trilogy, find the ones by Andy Serkis. You will not be sorry. You will thank me. Now, a very special read-along coming up. It is coming up on the middle of this month, February 16th. But I am going to guest host the read-along for Middlemarch by George Eliot with Classics and Company, which is facilitated by Micah Cummins and Ann Novella. And We're reading Middlemarch through mid-February through the end of March. So if you are interested, Classics and Company has their own channel that I will link down below. So please go and check them out. They read classics throughout the year, and they have a schedule for everything they're going to be reading for 2024. And this is coming up next. And I can't wait. And that's also another reason why I was reading the George Eliot biography, so I can get geared up to get some additional information and provide some really fun facts about George Eliot. But I can't wait to get back into Middlemarch. And follow the link down below if you're interested in that. And I've also linked both of their channels down below. That's it for me. Just kind of a short one today. Yeah, that's about it. This is probably one of my shortest, but I've noticed how much better I am picking the books that I read, because for the last few years, I have been picking things like, oh, I'll try that. Let's see how it goes. And last year I DNF'd more books than I ever had in my whole entire life, because I think that's what was happening, was I was picking books thinking I would try them, I would probably enjoy them. I read a lot of newer books, but again, my DNFing was going through the roof. And so far for January, I have done really well. I have been reading some wonderful books. I did want to mention, I did DNF Lab Girl by Hope Jaron, and I was listening to the audio. And that was one of the books that I wanted to read this year. So I did start reading it, and I just realized it's just not for me, but it's well done. It's a very good book. She narrates her own, it's a memoir of her life as a scientist and her personal life. And she does it very well. It's just not a Kim book. And so I realized early on that it wasn't, and I did put it aside. I do still urge you and encourage you, if you're interested in that, in science memoirs and the world of science, definitely pick that book up. It's beloved all over BookTube. Just not for me. So, but aside from that, I've done really well with the books that I'm reading, and I kind of think it's because they're older books. Many of them are classic books, and it's just going really well. I'm not reading as much, and I'm not reading as fast. And I think that has a lot to do with it as well. So far in January, so good. And consider joining me and joining Micah and Anne at Classics and Company and all of the other read-along participants in reading Middlemarch, starting in another week and a half. And you will see me on their Discord. So let me know in the comments below what you think of any of the books I showed you, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye, everybody.